America's mayor live from Manchester, New Hampshire, which I just realized in the interview I did with Kara Castronova, who was discussing the White House, that today is Caroline Leavitt's last day. Well, she's a neighbor. She'll be a neighbor. Caroline Leavitt lives in the town or two. I believe she lives in the town with the church that has the Latin Mass, Stephen. Ted. I believe she was in Nashua.
Nashua.
Well, Nashua has the Church of the Fraternity of St. Peter, of which there are numerous ones around the country who have been given permission by the Holy Father, if their bishop consents, to say the Latin Mass. And in distinction with the Society of St. Pius X, the FSSX. This is, I think, the FFSP. The one with Pius X is been at least a partial excommunication of the cardinals who were involved and the others who were involved, not necessarily of the congregation, possibly of the priests. I'm not sure exactly how that all works out. I think it basically, the most solid thing you can say about it is the four cardinals who were consecrated without the Pope's permission, really against the Pope's refusal, and the cardinals who did it and those who participated in it have all been automatically excommunicated. The rest, including the priests who now carry on their services, I don't know. The congregation, only if they subscribe to doctrines that are contrary to the beliefs of the Catholic Church. And as far as I know, they don't. But Caroline, lovely Caroline Leavitt, and her beautiful family will be roughly about 12 miles from here. These cities are, Manchester is the largest, but Nashua is a fairly large. And I visited a lot because I go to the Latin Mass there.
The last time I went with you, I told her, and she was
at St. Stanislaus Parish.
Yeah, I told her we went. Maybe she'll have more time now. We can get her up here in studio.
It's St. Stanislaus is beautiful. Beautiful Mass. And the group of priests who do it, the Fraternity of St. Peter, of which there are about 300 or 400 of them worldwide. They really are great priests. I mean, they give wonderful sermons, and they take me back to my childhood with the Latin Mass, and they take me back to a much more ornate and much more, at least the way I would view it, spiritual saying of the Catholic Mass. I had forgotten how much I missed it. So let's summarize a few of the things we covered before, and then we'll go into some new things. We'll summarize just in case you weren't watching, and some of it, there's a few extra little wrinkles we can add to it. Iran and Oman have reached a deal. Now, what does that mean? What that means is they have now reached a deal to ferry people through the Strait of Hormuz. It is clear they're going to charge. It's unclear how much or on what basis. I mean, they have a theory they can avoid international law if they say it's optional. But if they shoot you if you don't do it, I don't know if they can argue that it's optional. The United States has made it clear to both of them they're not going to get to do that. And it's also told Oman that if it participates and assists Iran in doing this, Oman will be a target. And Oman is not a big target. So Oman could be eliminated from the deal by firepower. This is a very, very important, critical deal to eliminate. It becomes a precedent for any number of corrupt countries, of which more than half of the countries are, to take advantage of little narrow geographical positions they have to extort money from other countries. And this had never been any part of the process until recently, or until they realized how they could extend this war, not necessarily win it, but extend it by freezing the Gulf of Hormuz. We are now at the stage where unless you are a crooked, demented, Trump insane person, the Gulf of Hormuz is substantially open and on the road to being completely open. About 40% of the traffic that normally went through the Strait of Hormuz is going through it now without any interruption by the bullies of Iran. And Oman is along for the ride. Now, having made this declaration, as more of these ships go through, are they going to do what they did before? Notice in the last two weeks, would you say 2 weeks? They've been careful not to shoot on ships. You remember when the MOU was first announced, within a day they were shooting at ships. So something different has happened. To tell you exactly what that is, you'd have to have better intelligence than I have. But I can tell you, because I very keenly observe it, that something very different is happening. They didn't blow it up in 2 days. They may blow up tomorrow, but they haven't blown it up in 2 days. That's different than before. It has to mean, at a minimum, they're arguing about what to do. I don't know how they're going to enforce this. Right now, maybe they're going to enforce it by keeping the flow limited to 40%. They're going to want to get through their own ships. And this particularly is going to affect China, right? And what we do on that, how we finesse our blockade. Because right now, Iran is moving no oil, which, unless it's being done deeply behind our back, China's getting no oil. And even if it's being done deeply behind our back, it ain't enough oil. This changes the equation by Iran will go under in 2 months to Iran goes under in 4 months. So this has to come to a head, particularly the situation of China's involvement in it. China has made some fairly strong statements about how they're not going to tolerate this any longer, that they're going to come right through and they are going to send major offensive naval power to affect their will. And there even have been reports of their most advanced destroyer or battleship being sent toward the Persian Gulf. The president has warned them not to do it, although it's unclear as to exactly what he's warned them not to do, because it's unclear as to what they've threatened to do. And I do not get a confirmation that these battleships have yet been spotted or have come through. Is everybody playing a game of hide it from the public because nobody quite knows what they want to do and therefore doesn't want to escalate it yet? It could be. But right now, China is more in the picture than it ever has been before. Russia, although it's making lots of noises and saying lots of things, is virtually meaningless because they're hanging on to Ukraine by this, like this. This. If we would open up a little bit more with regard to defensive Jupiter missiles, I think it is not completely impossible that you'd see wide areas of Ukraine liberated. So that's pretty much where we stand right now. It's hard to predict what happens next. There's no scheduled next event. There are just ongoing events, all of which could lead to trouble. So yesterday, what we still, only 30 to 40% of what we usually went through of ships that go through the Strait of Hormuz went through. Every time that happens, given what Oman and Iran have negotiated, there's always the possibility they're going to try to stop it or shoot at it. And you're back into, what do we do to respond? There's a reason they haven't. It either is they're not going to do that again, or they're waiting for the right time, the right ship, the right arrangement, the right delivery of what they're trying to get from largely China, but possibly a little bit from Russia. I think it's maybe a combination of both. So we're not finished with the violence there. Exactly how and when it breaks out again, I can't tell you. If you want me to tell you it'll be in the next couple of weeks, I surely can tell you that. So as this all unfolds, of course, the 9/11 25th anniversary is going to happen on the 11th, of course. The whole, all of the services and remembrances and sensitivities about it sort of begin emerging by September 1st. So there are a couple of things we have to be alert for. We have to be alert for possible terrorist attacks. You see the crazy woman or terrorist woman or terrorist imitator in Albany was planning a September 11 attack. Their desire for some form of satanic almost symbolism, using numbers and dates and times and location, is very, very great. On the other hand, they also have been fairly disciplined in not hitting hard targets or hitting hard targets by surprise. In other words, when they hit the World Trade Center, people thought they were going to hit the stock exchange or the Empire State Building or the bridges and tunnels, or they didn't think there was going to be, or maybe the World Trade Center, but not an attack by airplane. It seems like they are activating a lot of shadow cells, both professional ones that we really have to worry about, and unprofessional, but still can be very dangerous ones, like the one with regard to Albany. And it's hard to know how much of that is going on. I think our FBI is overloaded with work and has done a great job of catching up over the last year and a half, given their basically having allowed this to happen. So I'm not going to assure you, as in times past, there were times that I almost could, that things had really improved. And if you'd like my assessment, and I'll give you a much better one as we get closer to September 11, because it's really more of a rough one than a really completely watching everything that happens. I would say we are without any doubt more dangerous than we were the day before September 11 and the day when we were attacked, which is a tragedy because there was a period of time after September 11 where we were considerably less dangerous. But I would also say that we are in less danger than we were at the height of Biden, largely because we've gotten rid of 3 million illegals. Some of them had to be terrorists. Number two, the FBI for now almost 2 years has been doing just intensive work on trying to organize these people, organize the suspects, and obviously has already demonstrated in 2 or 3 rather surprising investigations that it has people out there trying to lure them in. Now, it is true that it's like you're fishing and you can't always get the greatest big fish, but they got a fish, and they got a fish that is a lesson to us on what we have to worry about. So, as we approach September 11, we'll talk more about the signals we see about how dangerous it's going to be, and whether one or another of these groups makes a try for a symbolic act. Whether they make the try for a symbolic act, we do have to worry then. If I tell you that the terrorist groups, professional ones, largely don't go at hard targets, which is the truth, well, unprofessional ones don't know. And therefore, since we have people like this woman, and we've always had them, who can predict that? Who can predict that there isn't a group or groups of people that have become converted to the Islamic religion and want to do it on September 11? So the country is going to have to be remarkably prepared and remarkably united. And in this area, I would tell you, and this I check on, ask about it. This we are in a totally different position than we were under the Otto Penn president. The 9/11 trial has been set down for trial 2 years from now. You can see my disappointment, which reflects the disappointment of the families of those who believe that it may very well turn out that they'll never get to see justice done for the death of their son, their husband, their father. I'm sure people have died already without that's happening. And at some point, we'll lay out why we think that happened and why it should never happen again. But right now, there are some other things that are of more immediate concern, because that's a long-term, that's clearly a long-term project, which is worth addressing ourselves to. But it's going to take a lot of conservative activity. It's really a shame, but Ed Martin is leaving the Justice Department. Ed Martin was the pardon attorney, and he's one of the people that I think had the greatest dedication to making sure that the serious crimes of the past were not ignored. Now, Democrats, of course, have sold propaganda here, and as usual, they've been very good at it. So there's a way and you've heard this, right? You shouldn't be prosecuting these people like Comey and Brennan and Obama and or even some of the lesser people who destroyed the justice system in America. Not only that, brought terrible damage to at least 3,000 to 4,000 people, 1,000 really catastrophic damage. I mean, what would you like me to illustrate? People who committed suicide, the people who lost everything they have, the people who spent 3 or 4 years in jail for something that was not even a trespass, people who lost their law license. It wasn't just me. The people who lost all their friends, all their business associates. I mean, this was a concerted effort done on purpose in violation of our Constitution, and it was probably the blackest period of time for the American Constitution in the history of this great republic. Now, you can choose to ignore that and close your eyes to it. You can look at it and say, well, let's put it behind us. That with the quality of people that we're dealing with now, there may have been a time in our history or others' history where that would be a very, very noble thing to do, because on both sides were people of honor. If you can find me a single Democrat with honor, well, I'll find one for you, Fetterman. But can he do anything? Of course not. So there's only one purpose, there's only one way to stop them, because they're getting ready to do it again if they win. And that is put them in jail where they belong. And there's a big distinction, which the press doesn't use, or even a lot of the cowardly Republicans, between what they did and what the president and people like Ed Martin are doing and trying to do. And it's real simple. And people they went after, the Bidens, were completely innocent. They went after it for their own reasons. And really, in order to dissuade them from finding out how much money they had stolen and how much they had sold out the United States. That was a dastardly motive, and one that destroys America as a functioning legal state. What the Trump people are trying to do is to, first of all, bring it to justice, bring it out in the open, get the truth out. Only can do it through the judicial system. Number two, seek justice for what was done to me, for example, and to others. And number three, possibly the most important, deterrence, so they don't do it again. They're getting ready to do it again. They're getting ready to do it again. They're lying, they're cheating, So God bless you, Ed Martin. I don't know what you're gonna do in the future, but I'm sure you're gonna be continuing to pursue it. It's a shame that you had to put up with what you put up with, but you're a man of real courage and patriotic to the core. Let's put it that way. I would say that's just not my opinion. That's the opinion of the president and many other people. Lindsey Clancy, which has become a very big trial. First, for the shocking nature of what occurred, her killing her children. But secondly, a little like the Mangione case, when you watch, maybe more split the Mangione, there are people who think she should be acquitted. That she was insane, couldn't control herself, and society did it the way Dostoevsky once explained, if we ever get to that, there'll never be crime again, and nobody will be safe.
So what do you think?
Oh, I don't have a doubt.
I know.
First of all, I don't even buy her insanity defense. The damn thing was too cleverly pursued to be the kind of insanity that allows you to get away from the destruction of another human being. But even if there is some form of, well, she is not at the level of insanity that would allow you to take the life of anyone, much less innocent children. And what she's doing is she's playing on feminist insanity, woke bullshit, and everything that's wrong with us. Also, she had postpartum depression. Tell me the ages of the kids.
Oh,
Postpartum depression lasts for the first 6 months.
Well, what I was going to say is, why I wouldn't be the best to comment on this is these stories don't typically register all that much for me, right? Like these specific instances, if a broader policy thing comes out of it, then it'll like definitely reach up to my radar. She did an awful
lot to plan it and to hide what she did, to make an argument that she was out of control of herself.
Yeah, but still, I mean, we got bigger issues going on in the world.
No, we don't. There's no bigger issues than justice for children.
Oh, well, certainly.
No,
but we got many.
Yeah, but why? I mean, I don't understand that. You can't say about a trial just because there's a war that we're going to come up to an unjust result in this case because we've got bigger issues going on.
Oh no, get to the right result, but it's like,
what is the result? What was the verdict? I didn't stay around for it.
I don't think the jurors are excused.
Oh, so they didn't come to a verdict?
No. Until tomorrow, and then that's following several hours of deliberations. Very standard, especially standard. I don't know what the accommodations are like for the jurors, but
well, it's going to be very interesting to see what the jury does. But I put this in the category of the Mangione case, how America has become completely warped and the liberals, left-wingers, Muslim extremists, and communists are ripping away from us, not just our criminal justice system, but our sense of justice. We've become a totally amoral people. Now you say, well, gee, Rudy, that's a heck of a thing to say. That's exactly what Karl Marx wants. He wants us to be as perverted, as undisciplined, as wicked, and as cruel as possible, because it's much easier to herd people like that than it is people with principle. You would think it wouldn't be so, but it's much easier to herd them and also bribe them and extort them when necessary and kill them when necessary. And they're not going to fight back in the same way. It's been time memorial practice of the Communist Party to destroy your culture, which includes your morality, before they did a takeover. And it emerges simultaneously with socialist philosophy, because socialist philosophy is inherently unfair and against human nature. I can work my tail off. You can stay home and look at pictures of Karl Marx, and you get the same amount of money than I do. My family, I have more children because I like to have more children. You don't have any, and I got to feed them with the amount. I've got to feed them, but I also got to feed you. Yeah, how long that lasts? Well, never lasted more than about 40 or 50 years. Do you know how it always ends? In violence. So how do we have, in case of Democratic kids, a majority of them who believe in socialism? You think it just happened? I mean, Marx, who goes back 160, 170, 180 years, you think he kind of like just came floating down around 1970, 1980, 1990 and infiltrated our classrooms? Woo! Or do you think he was carried along by committed communists that go back to Woodrow Wilson and Franklin Roosevelt and Harry Truman, who infiltrated the national government? Or on a local level, the completely just dominated, corrupt Democrat empires of New York and Chicago, Philadelphia, Boston, then along the West Coast, the freaks in Washington and Oregon. And so that's what. So now when we take a poll, it's a big toss-up between socialism and capitalism. I don't know. You can criticize capitalism all you want. That's perfectly intellectual, perfectly proper. There are a lot of things to be criticized. But if you're advocating for socialism, I simplify it really. You're either extraordinarily stupid, or you're very badly motivated, like you're a bad person.
And Mayor, this is actually a good opportunity to advocate for other, capitalist aspects of our society, right? Because we also have drifted a little bit. Like you said, they've infiltrated our federal government, our schools, universities, and that has resulted in policies that are contrary to a free market and capitalism and prosperity. And I think that we need to take this opportunity when it's on the table to push back and say, you know what, we need freer markets. We need, more opportunities, and we need more democracy, more competition, for example, because we have let a little bit go to these socialists. And I think we need to get back to our roots, right? What made America prosperous.
Very much agree with that. I think that, for example, if we hadn't fallen into socialism, when people like Gates and who did you mention before?
Warren Buffett.
Warren Buffett say we should be taxed more. We would say, well, you start the whole thing by voluntarily contributing out of your great charitable spirit. If you would like to see 55% of a person's salary taken, which is where that's what you get in New York.
To be fair, a lot of he is pledged a lot of his wealth, and I don't know how they're structuring all of that. Maybe they're just doing it to say it, but through charitable organizations and such.
Yeah, who knows if that's charitable or in order to cheat on taxes?
Yeah.
Or to avoid two concepts, two verbs: avoid, evade. You're allowed to avoid taxes. You're not allowed to evade taxes. Avoid taxes means to use very, very, in some cases, questionable extended tax theories to save taxes, and to do it openly and subjected to challenge. To evade taxes, to act dishonestly, like put down you had less income, to make it simple, as opposed to arguing whether or not something should depreciate in 5 years or 10 years based on a theory that's ambiguous.
I should be able to deduct my entire car for work instead of only half of, that type of thing.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
That's
But
it.
you know what? A lot of brain power is dedicated to avoiding taxes that I think we should probably have better spent in other.
That's
other
the argument for the
pursuits, right?
flat tax, right?
Exactly. We graduate like 400 LLMs from Georgetown every year just focused on avoiding taxes.
And when you raise taxes, you largely find that the rich and upper middle class that have the resources to find people like that either don't get hurt at all or minimize the hurt. And then in order to make up the money you need, it goes down to the middle class, the lower middle class in particular, and not the real lower class, because the lower class doesn't pay.
Well, it's working people. That's who pays. It's the people who work hard.
I don't know what the exact statistic is, but it's extraordinarily dangerous when roughly half your country isn't paying taxes.
And the exact opposite, actually receiving, benefits.
And then if you get into states like New York and communities, you can go blocks and nobody pays taxes. You can go blocks and nobody works. That's not the vital country that it was 250 years ago.
Oh, it was incredible. When I was a very young man at about age 16, and I got my first internship, and I went into like one of these bad areas, and I saw these people just walking around, and I was like, wait, it's a Tuesday afternoon. Like, what are all these people doing? And he was like, yeah, my colleague was just like, well, just walking around. That's what they were doing, right?
Well, we're going to take a break, and we're going to sell some products because we're capitalists and we're proud of it. Tunnels to Towers Foundation honors America's greatest heroes. Heroes like the dedicated public servant, Josh Bischoff. Josh began his firefighting career as a volunteer and quickly rose through the ranks to become CAL FIRE's assistant chief of tactical air operations. Josh was driven by a deep sense of purpose and a passion for serving others. His leadership earned him great respect across the entire state of California and beyond that, until tragedy struck. And two helicopters collided while fighting a California wildfire. Josh was killed in the crash. He left behind his wonderful wife, Cheryl, and their two children, Derek and Juliana. The Tunnel to Towers Foundation paid the Bischoff family's mortgage immediately, lifting a financial burden and enabling Josh's family to focus on healing after unimaginable loss. Josh's family is committed to honoring his memory by living with the same drive, the same joy, the same patriotism, and the same purpose that he did. Honor and help heroes like Josh and their families who've sacrificed everything. Donate $11 a month. Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because we like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans.
no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's Coffee.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month.
Wow.
Including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
To celebrate the new year, we're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is America's Mayor Live with Rudy Giuliani in Manchester, New Hampshire.
The fastest hour on.
Soon to be neighbors with Caroline, right?
Right. Yeah, maybe we'll see. She
Now,
won't be as busy now.
It's impossible for me tonight to go to the movies
Why?
because I have to take care of my baby.
Oh!
And I don't think she's a movie fan. So I don't know if we can have, I was really enjoying our discussions. So we could do them every 2 weeks because three weeks ago tomorrow, we had our discussion on the Odyssey.
That was 3 weeks ago.
The new, not only the Odyssey, the movie that we all went to, remember?
The Odyssey, yeah.
But also on the Odyssey itself as a great work of Western
Yes.
civilization. A week ago, having gone on a Wednesday night, I think it was, or maybe even Thursday night, to see the Reagan Gorbachev movie, we had an equally good discussion of what happened in Reykjavik.
Yes.
Exactly.
Not just what
Yeah.
happened. And it was nice because it was yes, it was a kind of a movie review, but it was more of an opportunity to get into the background of what happened in those occasions. And right now we don't have one.
Wait, Mayor, I got one.
And I refuse to make one up
I got one that we might
because
be
we're
able to
not
do.
lying scumbag Democrats.
Do you remember what we were watching before?
We were
Angel
watching
Studios.
Rome on and off.
Angel Studios, Young Washington. We never actually had a discussion on that live. So we'll actually be able to prepare that.
We might be able to do that.
That was incredible, by the way. That was I can't
wouldn't
even
mind-
describe it.
wouldn't
I thought
mind.
that was
it would be a little more of a surface discussion because I watched it on and off.
Oh, come on.
Rome.
Rome. But what
Do you
about Young
remember-
Washington?
But do you remember Rome well enough to do a discussion on it?
I've seen Rome, and we're talking the show on HBO here,
I just finished.
probably about 30 times.
Okay, and
Back
Maria
to
has
back
seen
to
it
back.
before. Maria has seen it before, and we finished it last night. Maria and I finished it last night. You watched it intermittently while we were watching.
Oh yes, absolutely. And I can tell you, like most of the time, if you have a question, I can like chime in and provide you with
here's where I'm
some
not as
background on
helpful.
it.
Here's where I'm not as helpful as I was on the Odyssey, believe it or not, because of my classical education, and on Reagan because I worked for him at the time that it happened and played a minor role in that situation. I have a hard time with that portion of Roman history. But by that, I mean,
It's like Jesus.
I don't know how much of that is true.
They-
Sevilla. Is there
That's
really
well researched. That's
is there
well
really
researched.
a Sevilla? Can I make a cheap little point?
Yeah.
They all try to make these movies. The women really are the dominant forces, right?
Yeah.
It's like Sevilla and Brutus's mother. Forget Caesar, forget Brutus.
Oh, but you know,
They were really operating the whole damn thing. They did the same thing with those movies leading up to the Tudors, the White Queen and the half White Queen,
but
the Spanish Queen. And
you
the
ain't
Islam
doing
Queen.
nothing without
All of a sudden,
Caesar.
it was the two mother-in-laws that put together the Tudor dynasty.
If
And that's
you-
not in Shakespeare.
You remember who was pulling the strings in the most? We're not going to spoil anything. This is an old series at this point, but Octavian is kind of pulling the puppet strings, right? And like if his mother were really in charge, she'd be married to Mark Antony at this point. We're in the series where we're at with you,
She would be married to Mark Antony.
rather than Octavian's sister.
Oh no, but I mean, the reality is that the mother wanted to be married to. In fact, she
and
falls
if that
apart
were,
when Mark. Plus, I don't know how accurate the description. Here we're having a conversation anyway. I don't know how accurate the description of Mark Antony is
in the movie.
They make him into like somewhat of a demented guy in the end.
well, if you're just focused on like
Maybe he was. I don't know.
If you're just focused on like getting busy with Cleopatra and like experimenting with Egyptian drugs,
But he was in love with her.
Well, she's the most
wasn't in love
beautiful
with her.
woman.
She's banged her.
Allegedly.
Not allegedly. He really did bang her, but Pulo banged her beforehand, and the kid is Pulo's kid.
I got to keep remembering that this isn't my memory. This is a show, right? That I'm watching. I'm not remembering these
the Pulo
things.
thing is fiction. That's it. That I know. Caesar, I know. It's after Caesar that I get completely lost when you get into. Well, we don't get to Augustus, but Octavian. To me, my vague recollection of taking classical history, which was really important in a Catholic school, we read the Gallic Wars of Caesar. Caesar's two successors, Octavian and Augustus, were to many, many Roman scholars the two last great Roman emperors, until you get to Marcus Aurelius and eventually Constantine.
And then eventually, no more.
Eventually, no. Well, eventually, the Holy Roman Emperor, who became just another powerful.
With regard to Cleopatra and Caesar, though, if I'm a pregnant queen and I don't know who the father is, I'm going with Caesar. If I have to tell anyone anything,
She knew who
right?
the father was. She knew that Caesar.
Well, maybe I heard she was quite loose with her morals.
It was thought of that Caesar was either impotent or he couldn't produce male babies. Pulo, of course, who is a fictional character, is the champion of potence.
Yes, exactly.
And the story, which is fictional, between him and the Centurion, who's also, those two guys are great actors.
I think there is
I haven't
evidence
seen
a little bit of a Lucius Varenus in
Lucius Varenus. I think is Lucius Varenus. I do believe is a historic character. The question is, are the facts they are attributing to him?
Sorry,
correct?
we don't know the exact facts of what happened on the
How about if we just
Aventine
make it
Rome.
up? Suppose we just make it up.
Yeah.
Now we pull out this guy.
Well, humans need stories. We need stories.
I don't mind. I like that. I like fictional history. I like fictional history because it gets you to argue real history.
And it gives you a way to contextualize
and the
it,
people
right?
who write it are better writers.
And yeah, and it gives you a way to think about it, and like I can picture it in my head, even though and it puts you in the time frame and gives you context, right? Because a lot of what we would read in the Bible about Rome would be barbaric, right? And it's like, that's the times, right? You know,
I never had the time in the past, except intermittently, to watch all these things they do. But when they argue that there's people don't read anymore and people don't get into history and I think those things on particularly on YouTube, but all of those are enormously good.
like the historic ones.
Yes,
we were
yes.
discussing The Crown, right?
Like you'd be far better off to read Gibbon's Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire. Now, if you did that,
Gibbon.
you'd be dead by the time you finished it. It's this big.
Oh, it's only 5 volumes. You can get through it. I promise. If you're fascinated,
I did it. I had to.
Yeah,
What if you have a
exactly.
job? What if you have a job?
But here's the thing: it's
I mean,
not
what do
actually.
you have to get to?
what if
You
you
have
have
to get ready
kids?
for a show every day.
It's not. Here's the thing about Gibbon, though. It's not actually accurate with regard
I'll
to
tell you
Rome.
what.
It gives you a historical context of how they
You're
viewed
going to
it
read it and do a book report.
in the
for us.
Enlightenment.
Yeah.
Right?
I took a whole course
We're gonna
on
have him do
Gibbon.
a book.
How much time do you need to read something like that?
Look,
Just have AI
Yes.
give it to you.
We don't trust AI.
this took me a week to read. When I was a kid, I read it in 2 nights. The Confessions of St. Augustine.
That's pretty good.
Well, yeah, but if you're thoughtful about it, you know.
Well, this is
How do the margins look? That book looks a little fresh.
fresh.
They would always make fun of
if
your Bible looks a
I
little
didn't
too
read
new.
it. I read it on Kindle.
And this
I
is
have
just
the
your
book
paper
for
copy.
TV purposes.
Oh,
But I
okay.
read it on Kindle, and I've read a little bit on here. I read it on Kindle for a different reason, which is, to me, this is tactile, and I don't even want to say what it is because it sounds weird, but I just love books. Oh,
An old book.
new ones, old ones. I remember when I first got my textbooks, and they were new. First thing I do is smell them.
Yep.
So I read Kindle, but the ones that I like, I order the book. So I read this on Kindle, but I have this here. Also, it's better for citing. So if I want to cite you to something, unless you have Kindle, we're at a different page. But if I use this, look, problem with Augustine's Confessions are there are about debatably 8 translations. I would say this is one of the 3 best. F.J. Sheed. But even better than that,
Well, who is the author of that's Sheed, you said?
he's a translator.
Oh, okay.
But the introduction, which is a 25-page book, the introduction by Peter Brown is the best short description of Augustine that you're going to get, and that you'll find very accessible. So
Well, it's good to buy the paper copy too.
Now,
And plus, if you're meeting the
there-
author.
there could be there are a couple of translations of the Confession that I would, if I wanted to suck you into it, I would recommend other. This is a bit academic, but beautiful. There's one that's totally poetic. Oh, and Saint Augustine just sells himself. This was a great man, like beyond, and the frailties of his personality and the sins that he committed, and his love of God and the way in which he converted. It's all very realistic. This isn't like, if you were a Catholic and you used to read the lives of the saints and the angel Gabriel came down and told you to be a saint. This is blood, sweat, and tears here with this guy. And then a great philosophical mind in applying Plato to how you describe Christian theology. And here's the funny thing. I'm probably getting you out of something you're bored about, but I hope not.
No.
Major division in the what I would consider the real Christian faith, don't get upset, is Roman Rite Catholicism, Greek Rite Catholicism, Orthodox. one would think that the Roman Rite Catholicism would not be influenced by Plato, and the Greek Rite Catholicism would be heavily influenced. It's just the opposite. The Roman version of Catholicism, since they're two major geniuses, aside from Jesus Christ himself and the Gospels, but they both have that, were Augustine of Hippo and Thomas Aquinas. One was a follower of Plato, the other was a follower of Aristotle, who didn't necessarily agree, which presents into the Catholic Church an enormous philosophical tension, which makes the Catholic religion get interpreted extremely philosophically. Let's switch over to the other ones who invented Plato and Aristotle and really have the claim on them. The guys were Greeks.
Well, and remember, I think
they do no philosophy.
Geography.
They're all a lot of young people like this now more. They're all very spiritual.
Well, what's wrong with that?
Did I say anything wrong with it? I just said the young people like it more. I think it is, and it's the reason why the Latin Mass, all of a sudden, for those people who are moving that way, it's a little too hard of a leap to get into Eastern, because the language is a stranger and the practice is a stranger. The Latin Mass is the fastest growing part of Catholicism.
Well, and it engages your senses
in a mysterious way, right?
Yeah, and the other thing too that we were kind of not thinking about, but before networks and fiber optics and everything like that made us all connected, the geography of those two places. And I don't think we should get down too much of a tangent on this, but the superhighway of the Mediterranean being one thing, and then the Greek,
because that's where our civilization comes from. And let's bring in the Jews, and now we got it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Oh,
now
my
we got
gosh.
Western civilization.
And and people should study this because it's foundational to our entire Western civilization.
I don't know. If you want to have a battle, who's more important? Fine. Jews, Greeks, Romans. Fine. But what you're going to find is it's the amalgamation of the three that created Western civilization. And here's the unfortunate part for the rest of the world. And this makes us sound so arrogant. They have some great civilizations. They have some great contributions. Pales into comparison with what I just described to you. And it helps them a lot when they borrow from us. It helps us a little bit when we borrow from them. But it helps them a lot when they borrow from us.
Who are you referring to right now?
Chinese, African, you go on and on.
And that's why we can't stop at Rome, Greek.
No.
Because, and I just coming from London myself, you see the principles of our civilization build, right? And it's fascinating to walk through history that way. And that's why people need to learn the history, because it all is so foundational and it builds to where we are and how we got here and what we might be giving up potentially.
There's a reason, if things work out the way I pray they do, that the primary power in Asia in terms of cultural influence will not be China. You might say Japan, military, India. India civilized at an earlier stage than China. India learned, although resists Western civilization, but understands it and understands how to manipulate it much better than China does. And India has now passed China in population. One of the great lures of China was how populated it was. All of our prostitute industrialists and salesmen said, oh, I'll sell out America to get the Chinese market.
And the NBA.
Yeah. How about the Chinese market doesn't spend any money, and some of them are cheap and the others are poor?
Oh, yeah. And it depends on how you're going to characterize Asia, right? Because
India is growing in a more sequential way. It hasn't taken a big dive. It may not be quite where China is right now, but if you really want to start projecting 5, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, India could dominate China.
Well, and talk about an intellectual powerhouse, right? Before AI, I was working with like lots of, people in India.
For all of the oppression of British colonialism which our communist
Still
president Obama was very much against. They gained a tremendous amount from the British. The Indians did, in terms of not their own native intelligence, but a much broader.
And they embraced
broader. So they don't come and steal. The Indians don't come and steal our technology because they have a better chance of developing it. The Chinese have to come and steal it.
And they embrace the richness of our humanity, right? Because you know what? The number one meal in Great Britain is everyone has a curry once a week. And so it's just a big cultural exchange where they celebrate, everything.
Look, it's very, very fascinating. It's a lot of things we have to think about. So let me get back to the things we've been talking about all week. And then tomorrow we're going to kind of sum them up a bit. The elections, right? So I read an article in the Post today, and when I read it, I originally just discarded it, and then I printed it. I discarded it because you know what this article tells us? What's going to be the most important issue in the midterm elections?
What?
What do you think? What do you think they're going to say is the most important issue?
Affordability.
The economy. The economy is the most important issue. I need them to tell me the economy is the important issue.
Right, that's just a given.
It's the economy, stupid.
Yeah.
Remember, that's every political scientist.
Groceries are too expensive. Gas is too expensive. Healthcare is too expensive.
Rent is too damn high.
51% of voters in June say the cost of living is their top issue, while in July it rose to 56.2. So, Mr. President, I don't want to disagree with that because that's too powerful an analysis. Will you just find a way to get those damn numbers down? Come on.
I'm glad. I thought you were about to lecture everyone about
no, get the damn
bootstraps and such.
I think there are other issues that might determine this election, but there's no reason why we can't take advantage of both. Let's use the issue that's obvious and then some of the new ones.
Well, I think that freedom is on the line with regard to like socialism and our way of life, right?
Of course, freedom is on the line.
And so that's why I'm framing it: freedom versus socialism. That's
Ted Cruz has announced in a podcast with our good friend, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. So he had Dan Patrick on the podcast, but Dan Patrick is the experienced podcaster. I like them both, by the way. Yeah. Ted Cruz says, quote, "It's no secret I want to run for president." And he's not sold on Vance.
Well, if he's running for president against him, probably not.
Right.
I think that they actually, among senators, they would probably get along.
Who, Vance and Cruz?
Yeah. Both have a legal background. And what? You don't think Vance has a legal background?
Not the classical legal background.
Not like Ted Cruz. Not like Ted Cruz.
Ted was Alan Dershowitz, one of Alan Dershowitz's 5 greatest law students.
Fair.
Alan
I'm starting
Dershowitz.
to like the idea of Ted Cruz.
Ted Cruz has one of the most subtle, best legal minds in America, maybe one of the 20 best.
Well, he's known on the Hill as being like a lawyer, right?
Yeah.
Like a lawyer's lawyer. And he always kind of throws a wrench in stuff if he doesn't like it, with legal things. But
he's been a team player.
But Vance is more of a lawyer than some owner of the Toyota dealership.
Well, he has a law degree, right?
Yeah.
No, I think he's a lawyer.
He's a JAG officer? Did Vance ever? Is he a lawyer? Did he practice, or does he have a law?
I don't know if he does or he doesn't practice. I
he a
do
JAG?
know
Was
that
he
Vance,
still
and I will say this in his favor,
That was
whether you might not agree with him, but he proceeds from principle.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now you may say, well, he was too much of an isolationist, but he proceeds from principle. He's not a scumbag. Right?
Yeah.
Not you know what I mean. He's not. Oh, let me see what they want to hear me to say. So
Right.
Let me see what they want to hear me say, so that they're going to like me right now.
Yep.
Which is the whole Democratic Party and about a third of ours.
okay.
Right.
So, and they didn't show this in Hillbilly Elegy, which is another one of those great biopic movies, but he practiced briefly some corporate law before moving into technology and the venture capital sector, which is kind of where he kind of became familiar with some of the big names like Peter Thiel and others.
I have not the least bit of worry about Vance's intellectual capacity. I think it's very, very substantial. If you're going to compare Vance to Rubio and to Cruz, it's on experience that you have to compare. If you want to talk about mental capacity, it may very well be that Cruz has the biggest, but Vance and Rubio certainly more than adequate and way beyond average to handle the job. It's not necessarily true that the greatest genius becomes the greatest president, but you do have to have a big intellect.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. You can't be a jerk off and be president
need
like Biden.
bandwidth.
You can't be like the moron of the class like Biden before he even got senile. But the problem is, when he walked into the White House, he was senile, and nobody wants to tell you that. The guy was senile for 2 years before. Again, they hide it. His son tells you that in the computer that I got, which he now claims I got from Bibi Netanyahu. And Carlson says, I agree. I don't understand these guys.
And that was on
I do
the
not.
Carlson show.
I do not understand this. And then what I find it totally offensive is their invocation of religion. Carlson claims to be very religious. And then he restates Catholic theology with regard to the Jewish people, Zion, completely falsely. I don't know if this guy's ever read a theology book in his life. I don't know how much real anymore there is about Tucker Carlson. But he sits there and he listens to a guy that he's excoriated. He's been totally on the other side of this. Completely defamed the president and me again and says, I agree. Now, everybody wanted to tweet out stuff. I don't want to pay any attention to it. I said at one point I'll sue him. Maybe I will eventually if they keep it up. Like the little idiot asshole, little piece of crap, Hunter, wanted me to sue him so he could take. He sued me and he dropped it. You already tried that again, you jackass. What, have you taken too many drugs between now and then so you don't remember that you sued me and you had to drop your case? Guess it's too much to ask that a drug-soaked brain with apparently occasional strong perverted instincts can remember.
You know, that was some stupid political operative probably taking advantage of him at times, right?
Oh,
he doesn't have the capacity to like. He doesn't have the
advantage of
capacity
him.
to like strategically do this.
I think he's just a perfect scion of the Biden family.
Like, I'm a Biden. What can we do, right? Like,
Okay, let's put aside the one who died, who's like a saint. So we're not going
right?
we're not going to criticize Bo. Find me. Well, never mind. All I take this is
Dr. Jill is known as a genius.
She is.
No, I'm just kidding.
She's not good at putting out. She's not good at putting out Christmas stockings.
No,
She
sir.
always forgets her last granddaughter.
Well, so litigious. We don't need to relitigate any of that. So litigious.
Do you think we have to relitigate that, Ted?
I don't.
I do. I
What
think
part
we
of it?
have to
The
remind.
grand-
I think we have to remind people.
They're
of-
old
of
news.
What are we relitigating? Sorry, I should have
I
answered.
Jill
think we have to
Biden's-
relitigate
Jill
what
Biden's
they-
Christmas
I think
stocking.
we have to relitigate what they elected in 2000.
Sure. 2020.
So they don't do it again. They're gonna have one of them come along.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, for a different reason. Do you think Kamala Harris has any more? It's not just brain power. It's lack of brain power combined with excessive immorality. There's a study from Rutgers University that probably will lead to the burning of Rutgers University. It shows that people who have transgender changes are much more likely to be supportive of violence, particularly political violence. And that from the beginning of the time that they embrace or are brought into and sucked into the trans orbit, which has now become like a massive multi-billion-dollar business, they become very supportive of political violence. And as it moves along, it becomes much more prevalent in their own behavior. And I'm not going to go through it now, but if you challenge me, I will. I will show you the number of murders in the last 4 years that were done by trans people, way out of proportion to the number of trans people we think we have in our society.
Well, if you cut off your genitals, that's pretty hardcore. You know, I think you're going to be pretty open to any manner of violence.
So, do you think Dolly Parton got? You think Dolly Parton got an appropriate amount of attention for her send off, or do you think I'm going to say like I do that? And this is really from somebody who is not like not a hater of country music, but not a fan of country music. I thought she was like a cultural icon.
She is a cultural icon. Yeah. And I think that she probably, they're going to be, so there's like an entire city in Tennessee that's basically dedicated to her.
They want to name the airport after her.
Well, that makes sense. That makes sense. But in addition to that, that's going to be the major programming throughout Tennessee, throughout like, for the foreseeable future, especially in like Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge, where most of her like different like organizations are. That's going to be huge. There's going to be big funeral celebratory things. I'm assuming around the country too.
What kind of race is there in Tennessee this year? Who's running there?
I think we got Blackburn returning to run.
But she's going to win the governorship, I think.
Yes.
Or am I being too?
I don't think there's a better candidate in.
Look, I think Laura Blackburn is Marsha Blackburn is one of the most underrated senators ever.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
We love her.
I think everybody loves her.
Couldn't agree more. Like we say on the Hill, there's workhorses and show horses. In a way, and she's a workhorse. I think it's great for the state of Tennessee, but it's very hard for America to. We got about 5 senators of that quality. See, that's
maybe 6.
Right. But maybe give her some executive experience before she runs for president, right?
I love it. I'm sure she's tired after all these years of helping to get legislation through, failing, succeeding, failing. She wants to put her own stamp on her great state. It's great. She'll be a great governor. But so if Tennessee is having this big thing, I mean, what was the president ever close to her? Was the president
Dolly Parton?
Yeah. No, not Marsha. He's very close to her.
Yeah, no, I've actually seen them together a lot.
I've been together with her. I watched one of the debates with her.
But she tried to. She wasn't overtly partisan in her politics. I think.
But was she a Trumper?
I believe so.
I think she was a Republican.
Yeah, she said some nice things about President Trump in 2018.
Might have even been a Confederate, to be honest with you.
Why doesn't he immediately why doesn't he just say whatever we have to do to name it the Dolly Parton Airport, I'll do before the election? I mean, there are certain things that, they were very political, but if you're going to do them, you might as well do them before an election. If you're going to do something you wouldn't do, that's a little different. That's kind of dishonest.
This is Dolly Parton in 2018.
She was pro-Trump?
Don't get into that, and so if you are deciding you may want to ask me something more serious, don't, because I'm not going to answer it.
We have a president of the United States who said those.
I just don't get into that, and so if you are deciding you may want to ask me something more serious, don't, because I'm not going to answer it.
We have a president of the United States who said those things on that bus.
I'm not addressing that. I do not get into that. Of course, I have my opinion about everybody and everything. But I learned a long time ago, keep your damn mouth shut if you want to stay in show business. I'm not in politics. I'm an entertainer.
And yet, you're also a role model.
Okay.
And entertained we were. Entertained.
Okay, I say this as someone who actually loves Dolly Parton. And that's totally fine response. But when they keep bringing up that damn bus, I mean, that bus was a bit.
Well, you got to remember
to the Access Hollywood tape with Trump on that Access Hollywood bus.
Yeah,
that was a nothing burger.
Well, yeah, but remember that
That was nothing.
that just shows how
Did she
artful.
come on that?
It shows
No.
It
She just said
shows
she didn't
how
wanna talk
artful.
about
It
it.
shows how artful her
You're
response
saying
was, right?
She had to respond because they went after her?
No, I'm saying I'm okay with her basically not giving a response, but to me, that is such a nothing burger. You're not taking a controversial stance by simply saying the guy was, but it's almost by not commenting on it, you're giving the problem a little bit of weight.
Ted,
right?
we're good Christian folks down here in Tennessee, and I'm not going to talk about grabbing a hoo-ha. Okay?
There's a minister
Sure.
who has a podcast. I'll see how. He's a black minister, and he uses the N-word in the podcast, which I cannot understand. It completely turns me off. Otherwise, I love the guy. But what he basically says is, now, which political party should we belong to? Here's a political party that believes that you should kill children up to the 9th month of pregnancy. And here's a political party that thinks you shouldn't, like we've been taught by the Old Testament and Jesus Christ. In fact, he brings out, because he's a bit of a scholar, he brings out the seminal book of Christianity known as the Didache. The Didache does a commentary on the Ten Commandments. You know, one of their commentaries on thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not kill a fertilized egg. That's 2,000 years ago of Christianity. So before you start thinking, oh, Christianity made this up just to stop the Planned Parenthood movement to eliminate black people. They preceded them by 1,900 years. And Christianity, unlike Planned Parenthood, doesn't distinguish black people, white people, but you just can't kill any of them. So the Chinese are hacking like crazy. And anybody who doesn't think the Chinese have infiltrated us like crazy is stupid, out of their minds, doesn't listen to our show or any shows of intellectual equality. The Chinese state sponsors hacked and infiltrated U.S. government computer networks ranging from NASA to the Senate before it got shut down during Trump. During Biden, it could be that in exchange for the 21 million they gave the Biden family in the 5 years leading up to his presidency, they just gave him the passwords. They sure gave him the airbase. So this is basically a study of how much have they infiltrated. And the point, I think there's going to be a book written about this, and the book will be how much they didn't infiltrate, because you can get that done. And the only reason they are a competitive power is they have stolen it from us, and we allowed them to do it. Part of it by negligence, part of it because of their great ability as intelligence operatives.
Do you want the FBI announcement, the video?
Yeah, I do. But what I want to say to you is the Chinese are not as artful at infiltration as you think. We're just terribly incompetent at protecting ourselves. I think if I were dealing, when I was doing intelligence for the United States against Russia, if I was dealing with a country as weak as the United States, I could have infiltrated the whole damn thing. Particularly when some of it is even paid for. Go ahead.
I'm Brett Leatherman, head of the FBI Cyber Division. Today, the FBI and DOJ are announcing the disruption of a global botnet used by a Chinese state-sponsored group known as QTFY to target U.S. critical infrastructure. For nearly a decade, QTFY
what are we gonna
has
eat?
exploited software vulnerabilities.
What are we gonna eat?
Cyber attacks.
We're going back, and we're back with Mayor Giuliani.
Well, the president has still not told us what the visit of John Ratcliffe to Moscow was. With a 4-hour visit on Tuesday. cyber attack, Iran, don't know, but it was important. You don't send the head of the CIA to Moscow for something that isn't of critical, immediate importance. You should know that since the Great Beautiful Act was passed, there's been a big change in food stamps, particularly in the SNAP Act, the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, which is one of the great scams. I mean, you think of it, nutritional programs for the people. It's not. This hits middle class, upper middle class numbers. And then when you put in the fraud, you may be giving food to rich people. The One Big Beautiful Bill enrollment in the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program fell 13% over the past year. As of May, 36.6 million people got food stamps, down from 42.2 million in May of 2025. Now, why is that? Some of these people were collecting it 4 times. Some of these people were collecting it for dead people and using it and trading it in for other things. Some of these people were not working when you should be working or trying to work if you're getting food stamps. And I am a big advocate of that because I started that. Someday you'll find out, if the liberals press ever allows the truth to be written about me, you will find out that I started the largest welfare to work program in America and completed it. And what was the core of it? There were a lot of things to it. What was the core of it? Workfare. I made everybody work for their welfare. That could. And if they couldn't find a job, I made one for them in a city that needed a lot of cleaning and a lot of help and a lot of assistance that could go well beyond cleaning, you found out. And then I'm going to tell you one last part of it that I never really share with people yet, except when I teach it. And that is, we incentivized our welfare workers to find jobs for people. Unlike the Communist Teachers Union, their union allowed me to pay them more money if they were successful. So I said, fine, if you can document that you found jobs for people, I'll give you a bonus. And then I realized I could get scammed. I said, I'll give you a little bonus. I'll give you a big bonus if they last on the job. So you don't start churning them. Look, if you want to be a great government leader, you got to be like Madison. Madison says clearly, if all men were angels, government doesn't have to exist. So without being cruel toward men, without being angry at men and women, human personality, with a beautiful understanding of it, you have to say, whenever you put together a giveaway program, you have to have protections in it. And if you do that, you come up with programs that just elevate people. So right now, Russia is attempting, and China is attempting to take over the feeding of the world. And a lot of that is moving us out of the agricultural industry, moving China into it, and particularly trying to grab Ukraine. Now, it's another one of the reasons that you don't think of for why it is important to us in the West that Ukraine win the Ukrainian war. Even that portion of Ukraine that they're taking will make Russia a much bigger provider of food. And if you're a provider of food, you have countries by the, you know what? China is the big provider of food over us right now in Africa. We don't produce the amount of food we used to. We pay our farmers not to make food. Do you ever think we should reverse that so we become a much more vital country? One of my home counties, Nassau County, is in a very big bind. The shadow puppet Petro Navante governor of New York, Governor Hoopel, has agreed with communist Islamic murderer, admirer Mondani, that there should be no cooperation between municipal governments and U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And they've set penalties to it. The very, very great county executive in Nassau County, which has gone its own way on immigration throughout, and is one of the counties, it's one of the safest in America, and one of the safest from immigration crime, which could easily have been one of the worst because it's right next to the pigsty of New York. He was pushed very, very hard just to disobey that. And Bruce, this is why you should be governor. You didn't disobey it because you can't. It's the law until it's changed by the court. He followed it and brought a lawsuit. They just... We'll spend more time on this as we get closer because there are other races that we've spent time on. But I do think it's time that we spend some time on New York. If we can flip New York from hoople hokel puppet of Mondani to a real guy, a real person, a real patriot, a guy who's shown success in a complex county of millions of people. Gee, the election is almost an obvious, except for the crazy time we live in. We'll see if we can get Bruce on and see if we can hoople. I mean, one of the things about New York you have to understand that hoople will never change is the entirely corrupt trial court system in New York City in particular. I can't speak for most of the rest of the state. Maybe I can. But right now, the New York Post is focusing on a judge known as Judge Janice Robinson. Judge Janice was found unqualified by the Bar Association. That's rare because the Bar Association in New York is a piece of shit, and they find all kinds of minority candidates qualified, some of whom have been a source of a tremendous embarrassment to the court, all of whom are beholding to the Democratic leader who puts them on the ballot. Each one of these people that's sitting in court has a Democratic operative. And believe me, in 4 of the 5 boroughs, the Democratic operatives, if they want to operate legally, would have a hard time doing it because they're all crooks. And then they wouldn't want an honest guy around because they'd throw him out. So let me tell you a little about Janice that the Post has focused on. On Tuesday, she released an alleged gunman named Adrian Benitez. Benitez is 29. He was charged with attempted murder and a slew of other felony charges after he was arrested in last week's shooting in Greenwood Heights. He opened fire during an argument with another man, and a stray bullet struck Honey, the 7-year-old Labrador Doodle service dog for Teresa Pezzola, who has Down syndrome. Now, they let him out. He's got like enormous numbers of shoplifting arrests and convictions. Enormous, like a dozen. He also has another 15 cases of similar import. Most importantly, the judge was found to be unqualified by the Bar Association. She ran and got elected because her relative is a major figure in the Democratic Party, although unqualified to be a judge. For the short time she's been on the case, they can locate 13 cases where she has let out on bail defendants for murder and other crimes of violence. She's the daughter of a Jamaican immigrant, and She's a disaster. She's like the old-fashioned let him loose Bruce, who is the father of the Democratic leader in Manhattan. Oh, what kind of judges do you think Bruce Wright appoints? Huh? You don't elect these judges. The Democrat county leader, you want to trust him? Fine. Elects him, puts him there. And what do you think happens when the Democrat county leader wants a favor? And how many times can you convert a favor into becoming very rich? When are we going to stop it? My prediction right now, never. Never. I don't see any movement anywhere in New York that wants to take this on. The New York Times sits by and just whistles at it. Oh, they've been doing that for 100 years. Even the Post brings out the people, but doesn't suggest a way to handle it. Maybe that's unfair. Nobody comes along wanting to take it up. So we'll be back tomorrow. By then, we'll have a conclusion on the very, in many ways, disturbing Clancy case. Disturbing to start off with because she killed her children. Disturbing even beyond that because of the tremendous level of sympathy she's getting. Babies. So we'll see what happens in the Clancy case. We'll have a little more on the meta settlement and how that works out, because it does offer promise and it can be a complete phony. And we'll have to see how it goes. And right now we're in sort of quite a quietus period with regard to Iran, like what's going to happen. And we're going to have to see. Iran has made a challenge now that they're in control. We're moving ships through. They're not shooting at them. Let's see what happens. Something could blow up overnight, and we'll stay awake to the extent that we can to watch for it. Right, Stephen?
Yes, sir.
Well, that's it. We got you for tonight. We're going to be back on tomorrow, which will be the end of the week. May I remind you that tomorrow is the glorious feast day of the most brilliant philosopher and theologian of Christianity, Thomas Aquinas. So, if you're a Catholic or a Protestant who venerate Thomas Aquinas as a saint, which is about half of them, I urge you to go to services. If you're not, I urge you to read a little about him. The more you learn about Thomas Aquinas, the more your brain will expand. And he was a good man. God bless Israel. God bless Ukraine. God bless Iran. God bless the United States of America. And we pray to St. Thomas Aquinas in particular to be our voice of intercession with God Almighty to bless America and our president. And of course, together, God bless America. It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze.